Hey guys. Welcome to Secrets Behind the Stars. Settle in, because what we're about to share has the entire fandom buzzing, and the whispers behind closed doors are getting louder by the minute. The spotlight has swung toward Halil Ibrahim Ceyhan and Sila once again, and this time, it's not just about on-screen sparks or red carpet glances. It's about a sentence that slipped from a trusted inner circle, a tone in Halil's voice that made those closest to him sit up straight, and a smile on Sila's face that refused to hide what her words wouldn't confirm. If you've been wondering how real, how close, and how deliberate their bond has become, stay with us until the end, because the way their story is unfolding right now is the kind of drama that makes our hearts race and our hopes soar. It all began, as so many legendary connections do, on a set. Under the glare of production lights and the hush of whispered takes, Halil and Sila's professional rhythm started to find a private tempo. What began as easy laughter between scenes turned into a language only they seemed to speak. Their chemistry leapt off the screen, of course, but it was what happened when the cameras stopped that lingered with those who happened to catch it. A shared glance lasting half a heartbeat too long, a gentle exchange of a coat when the night grew unexpectedly cold, a quiet conversation at the edge of set while the crew reset a shot. The industry noticed. Fans noticed. And yet, the two of them, loyal to their craft and careful with their hearts, kept their words measured, their boundaries intact, and their stories shielded from the chaos of speculation. But you know how it is when feelings ripen in time with success. You can hear it in the way someone speaks, in the quiet certainty that creeps into their sentences, in the ease with which they say, we, instead of I. According to whispers that slipped from Halil's closest circle, the actor has begun to describe his life as if it now has a center, a compass that points him home no matter how far the set is from the city or how long the night runs. One trusted friend says Halil's voice softens when the conversation turns to Sila, that the brightness in his eyes gives him away before he even mentions her name. Behind closed doors, he has been heard referring to her as his life partner, and at least once, at a low-key dinner among friends, he offered an unguarded truth: everything in my life is taking shape. No one needed a translation. They all knew what, and who, he meant. Now, for those who have followed them from day one, this is a turning point. Halil has always been disciplined, reserved, devoted to his projects, and famously disinterested in letting gossip dictate his narrative. His talent has kept him busy, and busy people don't always have the luxury of planning tomorrow with someone else in mind. And yet, in the soft glow of recent months, he seems to be doing just that. Plotting the days ahead with a steady hand, weaving someone else's dreams into his own, and letting the private joy of a shared future seep into his everyday words. For someone once allergic to the M-word, marriage, this change is seismic. That's why insiders are buzzing. That's why the air feels different. And what about Sila? If Halil is the quietly evolving storm, Sila is the beautifully composed sky that contains it. She remains calm in interviews, playful but disciplined on set, and fiercely protective of the parts of herself that can't be packaged into a headline. She is steady in the way she chooses her words, and precise in the way she avoids saying more than she wants to. But she gives herself away in other ways: her smile, humming at the corners of her mouth when someone mentions Halil's name, the proud sparkle in her eyes when she walks into a premiere where he's the lead. The refusal to indulge in meaningless answers when a sincere one might be too revealing. Friends whisper that she believes in this bond not as a fantasy but as a plan, that she's making room on her calendar for more than scripts and set calls. The rhythm of her life, too, is reshaping itself around a quiet duet. Now here's where things get delicious. According to sources who have stood close enough to feel the warmth of this story unfolding, families have already been introduced. Not in a wild media circus, not in a stunt. In soft light, with tea poured into small glasses and conversations that danced between respectful and affectionate. Think carefully chosen words, a mother's instinctive questions, a father's nod that says I see you, I hear you, and I approve. No official steps, no sparkling ring selfies, no statements penned with PR polish. But something more meaningful than an announcement: recognition. The kind of recognition that sits in a living room and says, yes, this feels right. Over the last few months, the couple has carved out secret pockets of time for themselves, slipping away from towering schedules for brief escapes that stitched new chapters into their story. An out-of-the-way coast, a tucked-away cafe in a narrow alley, a hidden table where two voices could whisper without echoing into the city's talk. On one quiet weekend, a short trip left them sun-kissed and unbothered, with photos that didn't make it to any grid and memories that didn't need to. Friends say those getaways weren't just a break from work, they were deliberations of the heart, reflections on what comes next, gentle test runs of forever. So, what did Halil say that sent everyone into a frenzy? It wasn't a press release or a vague social post. It was a simple, unadorned thought, shared around a table where the only cameras were the ones no one could see: marriage is very close. The words landed like a stone dropped into still water, and ripples spread. He didn't dress it up, he didn't toss it off. He said it the way people say something true for the first time, careful, certain, relieved. For a man who had always stepped elegantly around that topic, the clarity was louder than a shout. His inner circle heard it. Then, as these things always do, it slipped out into the wider world, carried by people who couldn't keep their excitement to themselves. Fans didn't hold back. Feeds lit up with edits that stitched their best scenes with real-life glances, captions that read like prayers, comments declaring them the most compatible couple of the year, and heartfelt wishes that this love would be blessed with a happy ending. People who have watched Halil's composure and Sila's grace for years now felt invited into something warmer, more intimate, a story not just of celebrity but of two people building something fragile and fierce together. Gossip columns asked the same question with different headlines. Is this the chapter where the whispers become vows? Is this the moment where the chemistry becomes commitment? The truth is, these two have always carried their bond quietly, even when it's shouted on screens across the world. They met like colleagues and moved like confidants, learning each other's rhythms in rehearsal and building trust where it mattered most, in the unglamorous spaces between call times, in the responsibility of showing up for one another when exhaustion made them vulnerable. You can feel it when they stand together at an event. She angles slightly toward him. He lets the conversation pass through her before he answers. They live in a soft orbit, never clingy, always connected. Anyone who sees them knows. Anyone who doubts it doesn't want to. And then came the detail that refuses to let the rumor mill rest. During a recent dinner with longtime friends, Halil described Sila as the person who gave meaning to everything in my life. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't intend the words for headlines. He just said them, because sometimes the simplest language can hold the heaviest truth. One friend swears he saw a look on Halil's face that he had never seen before, a tenderness edged with certainty, the gaze of a man who has stopped looking around and started looking ahead. He went further, too, softly admitting he couldn't imagine a future that didn't have her in it. If you're trying to calm a rumor storm, that's not the umbrella to use. Still, the beauty of this story lies in how both of them hold it. With Halil, the shift feels like a song he finally let himself hear. With Sila, it feels like a deep breath she was always capable of, measured, patient, open. She is careful, yes, always careful. Her career continues to climb in elegant arcs. She picks roles that challenge her. She shows up to set ready to prove that talent is a promise you must keep. But somewhere between her first coffee and her last line of the day, she seems to save a corner of herself for something softer. Those who love her say she is happier, calmer, more assured. They say she smiles more now, not because the world is easier, but because she no longer walks it alone. If you look closely, you can trace their timeline in tiny details that never made a headline. The day a director praised Halil's performance in front of everyone, and he glanced instinctively toward the doorway where Sila was standing, as if to share the moment. The morning Sila arrived on set after a difficult week and Halil handed her a thermos of tea he brewed before dawn, just the way she likes it, no sugar, hot enough to warm her palms. The hours spent learning lines together, not because they needed the extra practice but because they enjoyed the company. The night spent scrolling through notes from fans who shipped them with an almost contagious faith, laughing and blushing and thanking them silently for seeing something real. We've heard talk of a ring, not a public one, not yet. No glint caught by a paparazzo's lens, no jewelry store clerk spilling secrets to the press. But a friend claims to have noticed a simple box in Halil's bag during a weekend out of town, nestled between a script and a worn-in sweater. No one asked, no one had to. The idea alone was enough. Imagine it, a quiet proposal that doesn't need a stage, a moment so personal it refuses to be content. A promise made in a language that belongs only to two people. This is why the words marriage is very close hit with the power they did. Not because fans are desperate for a wedding. Not because tabloids need another headline. But because everything around these two, every choice, every gaze, every brave little step toward a shared tomorrow, already carries the weight of that promise. They are not rushing. They are not performing. They are simply, steadily, building. Piece by piece. Day by day. Home by home. And as always, success walks beside them. Both are at the peak of their careers, collecting praise and projects while balancing the strange gravity of fame. It would be easy to let that pressure crack what they have. But instead, it has become a crucible in which their bond has been tested and tempered. When schedules clash, they carve out time. When fatigue hits, they show up anyway. When critics talk, they close ranks. When days run long, they find each other in the quiet. If love is a practice, they are practicing it well. So here we are, watching the horizon alongside you, feeling the same thrill you do whenever they are seen together, hearing the same music in Halil's voice when he speaks about her, catching the same warmth in Sila's eyes when someone mentions him. We don't need fireworks to know when a night matters. Sometimes, the softest glow is the truest sign. We will be right here, following the clues, honoring the privacy, and celebrating the courage it takes to say what Halil finally allowed the world to hear. This is real, and the next step is nearer than you think. We'll keep our ears pressed to the ground and our hearts open for the day when whispers become certainty. Until then, hold on to the picture their friends described so vividly. Two people at a small table, hands brushing, plans unfolding, laughter coloring the edges of a promise. That is where their story is tonight. That is where love lives right now. You've been watching Secrets Behind the Stars, where we bring you the truth wrapped in tenderness and the rumors wrapped in respect. If this touched your heart the way it did ours, don't forget to subscribe and share, because when this chapter turns, you'll want to be here to see it first.